So welcome, you guys. My name is Demita McGee, and I am a platinum leader in this concept. I'm so grateful to be able to host our morning mentorship call in the absence of our beautiful and amazing chairman and chairwoman 25, Randy and Wanda Webb. Sakinah, our chairwoman 10, Sakinah Abdul-Jaleel, and I are going to be hosting the call today, and I'm going to kick things off. And so I had to sit down and really think about what is it I wanted to share? What did I want to share? What would be valuable, not just for the person who is on here that is building, but for the person who is on here just needs to be built up from the inside, not just their business, but the person that needs to be built.
All right.
Oh, you know what I did forget to do? It's not your fault, it's mine. I forgot to make sure the lines did get muted. So yeah. So co-host, help us out. If somebody sneaks in and they are not muted, help mute them out. I'll spotlight myself so it doesn't get messy as well. So I had to think about what would be of really good value to share with you guys to build you up from the inside. And most of the times, y'all, that comes from a place of vulnerability. And I started that this morning by sharing something on Facebook, and I'm going to carry it over into our call this morning. I've really been studying for the last couple of months, studying hard all about paradigms, understanding our subconscious, understanding how we make decisions. I wanted to know why is it that I know what I should do a lot of the times, but it's so challenging to do what I should. Now, on the surface, that sounds like it's a really easy conversation, but y'all, I've been digging deep for the past couple months. I get a great opportunity to work with a group of women, and we've been studying a book. And y'all know I'm always reading, so I always share with you what I'm reading. And that book that we're reading is called PsychoCybernetics. It is by an author. His name is Maxwell Maltz. This book was written back in 1964, maybe. I'm gonna do it again so you can screenshot it. Hold on. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So this is what we're reading as a group. And I learned about this book from the one and only Bob Proctor, whose book I'm also reading, which is called Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life. All right. So when I was listening to him one day, he mentioned the book PsychoCybernetics. Okay. And so we picked that up, we started reading it. And what has happened since studying this book for the last couple of months, I've really done a lot of what I call head work and heart work. So if you are building your business, whether it is IM, whether it is something outside of IM, I know a lot of us have multiple businesses that we build. The question is, what is stopping us from really moving forward and making the daily decisions and doing the daily disciplines the way we really should? And last year, we read Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. This book is like the prelude to that book. That's what this is, okay? Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza takes it to an even further level. So I'm going to start out by just sharing a little bit of my story and why it matters, okay? And then we're going to make all the connections, and then we're going to bring up our incredible chairwoman so she can just shut it down as only she does, right? As only she does. So at the time of this recording, you guys, I'm 44 years old. I know, you ain't know. You like, I thought she was 25. 44 years old, okay? When I was 9 years old, okay, I was, the first recollection I have of being touched inappropriately is about 6. But 9 is where things really started to amp up, because my uncle, who lived with us for a short period of time, I was molested by my uncle on multiple occasions. Now, don't feel bad for me at all. Your girl has grown. She is a survivor. So if you are on the line and you can relate, I understand you, because I am you. Well, what happened was I lived with that for a very, very, very long time. I never shared that story until 3 years ago, okay? And when I started working with a life coach, because I had been struggling through some things, just really struggling. So I started working with a coach. I had gone to counseling before for some other issues. I'll bring that up in a moment. I had gone to counseling, but I had never, ever told a counselor, told anybody about being sexually assaulted. I was almost sexually assaulted, and about being abused as a child. Never told anybody about that. So when I finally shared it with a coach, we were talking through some things on a couple of sessions, and it was so interesting, because what I harbored inside, what I said to her was, I feel like I manipulated him and took advantage of him. I feel like I did. And she said, well, why do you feel that way? because he lived with us, you guys, he would do my chores. He would do everything that I was supposed to do in the house. He did everything. And so he would wash dishes for me. Every chore that I was supposed to do, he did in our house. And I said, if I really didn't like what he was doing, why would I keep going around him? Maybe I manipulated him because he was doing these things for me and I no longer had to do them. Because as a kid, what do you have other than going to school, playing outside and doing your chores? And so I felt like maybe I am manipulating him. Maybe that's what I did. And so as we keep talking and that specific session unfolds, she says to me something that I had never thought of in my life. Now, these sessions occurred about 2 years ago, because remember, the first time I ever talked about this was 3 years ago. So we're talking 2 years ago when I finally got a real breakthrough from being a 9-year-old kid, because I suffered with sexual abuse at the ages of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It went on for years, and it wasn't just my uncle. There were cousins. It was ridiculous. And so I remember her saying to me, Demita, did it ever occur to you that maybe he manipulated you? I was like, no, I never thought about that. Like, never thought about it. And you're right. He did. Why do I say that? You guys, all this time, my entire life, I'm plus 40 years old. The entire time I have been looking at this situation through the eyes of a 9-year-old child. Every year I got a year older, but the situation didn't. Every year I got a year wiser, but not in that situation. I was paralyzed in time. I was literally paralyzed in time with this specific situation, and I could not see it from an adult perspective. The only way I had ever looked at it was from a 9-year-old girl's perspective. And so I struggled with the shame, the embarrassment, the humiliation of those entire years from a 9-year-old perspective. And it was not until someone from the outside came in and asked the right question that I was like, my eyes were open for the very first time ever. And had I not made a conscientious decision to even acknowledge what happened, I'd still be struggling with that same thing, thinking from a 9-year-old perspective, raising 3 children. I'm just saying, raising 3 babies and having a 9-year-old perspective about something so incredibly serious in my life. That's example number 1. Another part of my story, I struggled a lot in college, y'all. I went to school. I was exceptionally smart, exceptionally bright. I went to a large school. I realize now it was large. It did not seem large to me, but there were over 600 people in my class, and I was in the top 20. I thought that was normal until I started talking to people like Chancey, and I realized it's like really small schools out there, right? So I went to college, scholarship, everything. I went to college ready to kill it because that's all I had ever done. I did really great my freshman year. I did really good my sophomore year. You guys, I got all the way up into my senior year. And then I started dealing with all this stuff from my past that I had never taken the time to really think about. Because guess what? I was still thinking like a 9-year-old. And everything, all this stuff starts to surface. I don't really know what to do with it. And so at one point in college, I actually tried to commit suicide at 19 years old. Thank God I was unsuccessful, and I'm grateful. At the time, I wasn't grateful. Today, I am grateful. And what ended up happening was when I moved forward, I never finished school. You guys, I have an associate's degree. I do not have a bachelor's degree. There are people in this world right now that think I got master's and PhDs, and I do not. I don't. And I struggled with that for a very long time. I went to school, did all these things, and I missed graduating by a semester. Now, let's fast forward. I'm a Christian women's business coach. I actually have a certification in coaching. And during that program, we have to practice on one another. And we did live coaching sessions for practice. It was part of the hours that we actually accumulate as we get our certifications. And I remember doing this one session and I am being coached. And so my peer, the other student, he's coaching me and we're talking through things. And I was like, I'm tempted to go back to school, but I just can't do it because I'm not going to finish. Just like I never finished before. I realized by this point in my life that every time things start to get really hard, I could look at my past and think, oh, I made a transition. No, I quit. Every time it got really hard, I would quit. I would move on. I would say, oh, that job's not working out. I'm a transition to something else. But in reality, to make that a little bit shorter sentence, I quit. It wasn't a transition. It was challenging. And I quit. And I remember having this coaching session and saying, I quit at I'm scared to go back. Why go back? I'm just going to quit again. And so as he continues to ask questions, because it's all about asking better questions, as he continues to ask me questions, he says, so tell me about your business. Because I had launched my coaching company by this time. So I'm talking about it, and y'all know I'm passionate. So the passion coming out of my mouth, and he's listening and he's asking more questions, and I'm talking and this. And he said, you mean as hard as it got, you never thought about quitting? I was like, no, why would I think about quitting this? Bam, bam, bam. The answer just fire coming out, bam, bam, bam. And he says, well, did it ever occur to you that maybe you conquered that? The same way you're not quitting your business, that you wouldn't quit school now that you're more focused and want to go back. And it hit me again. I was making a decision from an 18-year-old perspective. I'm a 40-plus-year-old woman. I get an example of making a decision from a 9-year-old perspective as a 40-plus-year-old woman. And now I'm making decisions from an 18-year-old perspective. So my question for you, my first question, where are you making your decisions from? Where are they coming from? Are you making decisions from a place of pain? Is that where you're making them? Y'all, that's huge. That's really, really big. For example, this is an easy example for me to use. We have Houston coming up. This is a really easy example for me to use. We got Houston coming up, right? We got convention coming up. And you may say, I'm not going because, hey, the last time I went to a training, I didn't get anything. Nothing really happened. Nothing changed in my business. Like nothing changed. Like I feel like I'm in the same place. Are you making decisions from a place of pain? Are you making a decision about going to the next event based off of the results you got from your last event? Then perhaps this is the problem, or this is the challenge, right? What if you're going, you think about going to Houston, but you're like, I don't have the money to go. You're making a decision for your business today, a future decision based off of today's results. Y'all, that's good. Like that was a revelation for me. How many decisions are you making in your business? How many decisions are you making in your life? Future decisions based off of your current or your past results. Like, do you realize that if you continue to do that based off of previous, like 9-year-old, 18-year-old, 20-year-old decisions, if you continue to make decisions today, your future decisions based off of all the results you've got up until this point, especially if you feel like your results have not been good, you realize how you're going to stay in the same place because you keep making the same decisions over and over and over, over and over and over, over and over and over. Why does it matter? I want to show you guys something. Did I send it to my computer yet? Hold on. I'm going to show you something. Hold on 1 second. Because this is so powerful. And this is what a lot of us are doing. Okay. Let me send this picture to my computer and then I will share it on the screen. So this is what a lot of us are doing. We are making these decisions for our future based upon past results, based upon past pains. And what happens is we think, we don't realize that there's this belief behind all of that that's really stopping us from moving forward. So in this phenomenal book that I told you we're studying in this beautiful coaching group that I have, this is the book, PsychoCybernetics. This comes right out of this book. What you're looking at is something that says information leads to an idea or a belief, leads to an emotional reaction. So something triggers you. This is so good because see, I was emotionally triggered and I didn't know this. When my daughter when she went to kindergarten, that's when all of these emotions came up and I was paranoid at the house about my daughter even being in school. And I didn't understand where it was coming from. And I started to call it debilitating worry. I was in the house. My husband was asleep because he works overnight and I was in tears. I remember one day the baby was in the bed asleep, right? Taking a nap. And I'm in my basement bawling. And I'm bawling because I'm terrified for my daughter who is in kindergarten and my son who is at school. I'm terrified that someone's touching them inappropriately, doing something inappropriate. I had never had a life without worry when it came to my children until I started to have these breakthroughs. I never had a life of worry. I didn't know I could have a life without worry. I didn't know that was even possible because I was living as my 9-year-old self, worried that they were struggling with the same things that I was struggling with, right? And it wasn't until I had a breakthrough that I was able to move forward. What happens with a lot of us, and this is really good for your business, and I'm going to give you an example in just a little bit here. What happens with a lot of us is this: we have an emotional reaction to something. We're triggered. Think about how your spouse can say something, a good friend could say something, your mama could say something, your sister, your brother, your somebody can say something, and you have an immediate response to it, right? An immediate response. And you think it was just what they said that caused the response. Well, that's not it, you guys. This is so powerful. So in a lot of cases, we're here having our whole emotional response, and we think it's from the information we receive, and it's not. It's not. There is literally an idea. There is a belief that you have, and it happens so quickly that you think it's just the information you receive, but there's something that you believe in your heart that actually causes you to have that type of emotional reaction. All right, let me give you an example. Okay, y'all ready for an example? One of my beautiful teammates, I'm going to use our example that we walked through some things. She was having an issue calling people. Now, that was never a problem before, but all of a sudden she had gotten stuck where she just could not call people. And I was like, okay, so what's the problem? Like, why? What's the difference? She said, these people don't want to do nothing to me, that they don't want to do nothing. I was like, really? Like, nobody wants to do anything? Like, nobody? Like, out of everybody in the world, nobody wants to do nothing, right? And so I'm going to show you, once again, y'all, I'm telling you, these books change your life because they brighten or they open up a perspective that we need sometimes. So this particular teammate is also a part of this group that we do, and we're studying this book. And so once again, I'm going to share this with you. Hold on. Let me share this to my computer so I can also share with y'all, right? So she says, these people don't want to do anything. I was like, really? Nobody wants to do anything? You sure they don't want to do nothing? And she was like, no, they don't. I said, okay, so let's walk through what it is that we have gone through in the past. Let's walk through what we've studied, and let's ask ourselves some questions. Because remember, you ask yourself better questions, you get better answers. So these are the questions. This is directly from PsychoCybernetics. So I say, is there any rational reason for such a belief? Rational, that nobody, when I say, I mean that nobody wants to do anything, because I'm saying what you said. You said nobody wants to do anything. And she was like, well, maybe not rational that nobody. I said, okay, so that's our first question. Let's ask question number 2. Yeah, I'm telling you, screenshot these questions. They will make a difference. So the second question, could it be that you are mistaken in this belief? And so she chuckles a little bit because now we get in some places. She was like, it's possible. It's possible, right? We go to question number 3. Why would I come to the same conclusion about some other person in a similar situation? Like if there was somebody else who was on your team and they came to you and they said, listen, these people don't want anything, so I'm not calling them. Would you come to the same conclusion that they're making the right decision? She's like, no, not really. I would not at all. Okay. So let's ask the 4th question. Why should you continue to act and feel as if this were true if there is no good reason to believe it? And she just started laughing. Just started laughing at this point. She was like, you know what? You're right. You know what? You're right. This is what changes. Remember I said, let me put these 2 pictures right next to one another because y'all, this is important. Hold on. I'm gonna put these 2 pictures right next to one another. Remember what I said was this, that there's a belief that you have. What we got to do is we got to change the belief. Like I had to change the belief and understand, listen, nobody is out there. Like my children can go to school every day. Their teachers are not out there just waiting to prey on them. I had to literally change that whole belief, right? And so what happened with our conversation with my teammate is I said, so let's look at the belief that nobody wants to do anything. Let's just break that down. If the reality is every time we show people, me and you together, You know, they always say the same thing, whether they get started or not, they always say the same thing. If she's showing it to me, I need to look at it because, man, since we've been kids, she's been on it and I just trust her. You know, it's just, they may not be able to get started or see the value and get it started, but they trust you. So is it possible? Is it possible that people are actually looking for something like this because they want to do something different? Is it possible that they're looking for something because they want to do something different? But maybe they're looking for it from somebody that they can trust. And if they told me that they could trust you, maybe they're waiting for you. And she was like, Demeter, that's good. I think so. So we took the belief of nobody wants to do anything, and we totally pulled that thing out using these simple questions from this book, y'all. And we literally went from nobody wants to do anything, I can't make calls, to now she's back to making her calls every day. And you know why she's making her calls? Because now she tells herself what we took and turned around, and we took out the limiting belief, replaced it with one that serves her, turned that into an affirmation. And so now guess what the affirmation is? Listen, she makes her calls because every day there are people in her life that are looking for something. They're looking for something like this, but they want to see it from somebody they trust, and they know they can trust me, so they're looking for me. Y'all see how we just broke that all the way down? Like, it is that serious. Why is it that serious? Because you are dealing with forces that you don't even know you are dealing with. And those forces that Bob Proctor talks about all the time are paradigms. You have hidden limiting beliefs that you don't even know are there, that are really causing you to struggle. For so many years, I felt like I had no credibility. Sakinah and I were talking about this, and she was like, really? I said, yes. I made decisions from a place of a person who felt like she had no credibility, none. Now, was it true that I didn't have credibility? No, but that's how I felt. What decisions are you making right now today for your business that are affecting you because you feel like people don't trust you, people don't believe you, because you feel like people don't want to do anything, because you feel like you just weren't born to win, and it's the same way somebody else that's a chairman is ready to win? Because of all these limiting beliefs that you have, what you got to do, I'm telling you, it is the head work and it is the hard work. And as much as it sucks, and as much as I get tired of hearing over and over again, it is not how. You got to work on you, your belief, and why. I hate hearing it, but it's true. You got to do all of the work. You guys, I just realized when I put up a post on Facebook this morning that I launched my first business 10 years ago. 10 years ago was when I launched my first business. And it failed. Oh, it failed exceedingly and abundantly. It failed. But I didn't fail. You know why? Because I started from a place of experience when I started the next business, right? So what happens is you get on here and you look at me do a presentation and you're like, dang, she could just kill a presentation. You look at me and you see she could just kill it. She's a chairwoman. You see all of that. What I'm telling you is it's years of preparation. It's years of failing forward. I ain't just start this yesterday. I'm not new to this. And you got to understand, all of us don't start on the same place on the field. I'm a football fan. I'm just a girl in love with her Bears, whether they win or losing, it don't matter, right? I'm a football fan all day, right? So check this out. Some people, if the goal is in the end zone, some people start on the 1 yard line, and you look at them and you think, damn, they just got started and they a chairman 30 days from now. Like, how is that even possible? And you know what happens is you try to do what they do. You do. You can't do what they do because you don't know how they came to the field. That part. Then there are some people, they start in a different place. They may start on like the 50 yard line. So they're not on the 1 yard line, but they're on the 50, right? There are some of us that start on the 1 yard line on the other end of the field. We got some ground to cover. But y'all, some of us start in the parking lot. It just is what it is. That person who started on the 1 yard line, you don't know what their life was like. They could be a Brandon Thompson. Their parents groomed them while they were young to understand what business is, right? They could be a Bryce Thompson. They could be a David Emanitier. Like, you didn't get to see all the grooming. You didn't get to see what their parents poured into them. I'm telling you, my kids are starting on the 1 yard line. You know why? Because my daughter just yesterday was like, can you wake me up 30 minutes early? Because I want to meditate like you. No, because that's my time, but I can wake you up where you can meditate on your own. Facts. Absolutely. I want to have a journal like you. They're going to start in a different place. And you know what's going to happen? Because I've taught my son that, listen, your network is your net worth. The friends that you have in your life, you stay connected to them and you build relationships, because those relationships will serve you later. And guess what happens when you teach your children that when they're 14? They become the 23-year-old just person that just blows it out the park when they start an opportunity, and everybody is looking like, oh my God, I don't even get it. You won't get it because you weren't there when they were 14. You weren't there when they were 15. You weren't there when they were 16. You weren't there. So what I need you to do is stop looking at Bryce Thompson. Stop looking at Noel Trimble. Stop looking at David and Munitier trying to emulate them and do what they do. Work on your heart. Work on your head. Get it from here into here. Get it where it comes out of your mouth. And I'm telling you, everything will be completely different. Is it fun to know that it's going to take longer than you want it to take? No, it's not. It's not. But guess what? I'm so happy that I started 10 years ago, because today I get to say, your girl is thriving. Let's win. I get to say that today. There's so much more I could say, but I'm gonna stop because we got to hear from our chairwoman, y'all. We have to. I am so grateful to be able to share just this Zoom stage with her. Like, she's so powerful. I'm so grateful. Legacy Worldwide, some of you guys I know do not get to work as closely and as intimately with her as I get to. I'm just saying, I am privileged. Yes, I am. And I'm so grateful. And I don't take it for granted. But what I want you to know is this, that if you are part of this organization, she's got love for you. If you're not a part of the organization, she has love for you. She is so willing to just be a servant. And I'm just so grateful to be under her tutelage. Y'all, literally, oil flows from the head down, from the head down. She is the head of my organization. But guess what? The head of hers, when you look at Randy and Wanda, it's not even a surprise that she is the servant that she is. I'm telling y'all right now, you gotta now, this moment, get to know her. Get to know her. Because the time will come when she is so busy that you won't even be able to have access to her. Not because she doesn't want you to have access to her, but because the company will know who she is. That time is coming where everyone will know her name. And the sheer size of her team, the sheer size of her impact is going to make her more unapproachable or untouchable, not because she is unapproachable or untouchable, but because she's making that significant of an impact. So you want her to know your name today. Don't take our chairwoman for granted. She's a chairman 10 today, but trust me, it's chairman 750 already done. Give it up, y'all, in the chat right now for the one and the only chairwoman 10, Sakinah Abdul-Jaleel.
I swear to God, I'm going to record her one day and I'm just going to put that on my phone, and that is going to be my alarm. When my grandkids are driving me bananas, I'm going to hit that play button. When something ain't going right in my life, I'm going to hit that play button. When the neighbor does something to tee me off, I'm going to hit that play button. Everybody needs a Demeter McGee in their life, y'all. Give it up. Give it up for Chairwoman in the making, because I tell you, every single time I get the privilege to have a conversation with Demeter, I know that I'm speaking with a chairwoman, and it even goes beyond that. And I know y'all feel exactly what I'm saying. This woman is a leader. This woman is a leader of all leaders. Let's say that. And she just laid that call out, honest to God, you all. I could have listened to her the whole time, and she could have had this whole call and closed it out, and I would have been good. I promise you, I would have been good. I almost put in that chat, keep going, sis. Y'all show her some love, to be vulnerable, to be able to share from her heart, and to be able to teach. This is a privilege, you all. This is a privilege. And we get to watch her journey step by step, by step. Just that in itself is a privilege. It's a privilege. I thank you, Demita. I thank you. I love you. I'm so grateful to be able to share this call with you. And I'm also grateful to Mr. Andre English, because when Randy and Wanda posted that there would not be a mentorship call, I was like, okay, cool. And then I got a text from Andre, and he was like, you know what would be cool? If you and Demita did a mentorship call. And I was like, whoa, whoa, okay, all right. All right. So thank you for thank you for what you do, Andre. He put that flyer together. Listen, Andre sent the text and had the flyer like 5 minutes later. I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing this. Let me text Wanda and Randy. We got the call on Wednesday. Don't worry about it. And I sent it to Demita. I was like, look, this is what we got going on. She was always down, always. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Y'all show Andre some love, because he's really the reason why we've done this today. He absolutely is the reason, because I wasn't thinking about it. And that's just the absolute truth. So thank you for making us step up. So guys, listen, what Demita broke down about having the paradigm shifts and how we can get stuck in our old thinking. We can literally be limited by things that happened to us in our past. Oh my God, talk about breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough. It's incredibly powerful that we realize why we have these thoughts, why we have these limitations. She and I were talking last night, and I was telling her how this book that I'm reading, y'all let me turn these notifications down. This book that I'm reading that I absolutely love. I'm reading several books, but this one I'm almost done with. And y'all probably see me post it several times, because I just think it's just an awesome book. It's called Professional Troublemaker. And it's by Lovey Jones. I'm not even going to attempt her beautiful middle name. And she just has, this book will make you get your whole life, and that's exactly what it's done for me. And I was telling her how I grew up with so many different thoughts. Like, I'm so grateful to be in this space today and to be able to have the education that I have that was mostly self-taught, that was mostly just scraping and just being determined. I remember when I wanted to homeschool my kids, and this was back in the day, y'all. My oldest is 37. And this wasn't a popular thing in Michigan. Like, you could literally get in trouble with the truancy officers. You had literally truancy officers driving around in the neighborhood, looking to see if kids were out. So I would have to keep my kids in the house during, certain times. They couldn't have recess, but I was determined. I wanted them to have a really strong foundation that I felt that I could provide for them, that I just honestly didn't feel that they could get in the school system. Nothing, against the school system, but that's just how I felt at the time. And so here I was, this person that dropped out of college and didn't have any kind of educational foundation for that, but I would go to the library. This is way before, I had to go through the Dewey Decimal System. It's crazy. Some of y'all don't even know what that is, Andre. They don't even know what it is, right? These kids are spoiled this day and time, okay? I'm just saying, y'all millennials, but so, and I would go to Michigan State, and I would, I could always, my mouth moves good. I can always make sure I can get in something. I'm gonna get in something. Tell me I can't get in, I'm getting in something. And I would get on Michigan State's campus, and they probably thought I was a student there, and I'd get in there and I'd get in that library, and I would just get books and books and books. And I would even check out books. My point is that, when you think there's a door closing, you have to be the one to push through that door, because nobody's going to do it for you. Librarian language, yes, yes, nobody's going to do it for you. And you have to have a dream that's so big that even when people think you can't, you do it anyway. But I still had those things in the back of my head. Like, one of the things that I was telling Demita was my mom used to say all the time, expect the worst, but hope for the best. Think about that for a second. Expect the worst and hope for the best. Ugh. And it wasn't like she sat me down and said, expect the worst and hope for the best. But whenever a situation would come up, or the possibility of something good happening, she would say that. And my dad would say, what was it? I wrote it down. Don't get your hopes up too high. Now, my mother and father separated when I was 4 years old, 4 years old. But yet, because of the type of people that they were and the things that they thought, they attracted each other. So they had the same type of thought process, right? And even though my mom and dad separated when I was 4, my dad was in my life every single day, like every day. I never knew anything about a deadbeat dad, anything like that, until I turned 16. And he didn't turn into a deadbeat dad. He just married the wicked witch of the east, west, north, south. That's a whole different conversation for a whole different time. But up until I was 16 years old, that man was at my house at 5:30 every single day. So I never understood that. I mean, I never understood, what a deadbeat dad was, but they had the same thinking, the same limited, the same scarcity mindset. So I was inundated with that thought process, right? And so I'm telling you, when I picked up several books, but this one in particular, there's a chapter in here called Dream Audaciously. Like, how dare you dream and dream audaciously? It's chapter 3 in this book. And I'm gonna read some things from it. And I've got some things highlighted in it. But she says, literally, I get why we fear dreaming, because it's hard for us to get our hopes up. It's hard for us to believe that the things that we want will actually happen. And a lot of times, just like what Demita said, how she was operating out of a 9-year-old thought process or an 18-year-old thought process, you got to examine why you're afraid to dream. You got to examine what's really holding you back, because it's not like she said, it's not like the people don't want anything. It's not like the people aren't going to do anything. It's not like when people quit our business that they didn't want anything. They were afraid to. The same limitations that you put on yourself is the same limitations that when people walk away from our company that they put on themselves. And just like how Demita and I are tapping you on your shoulder and saying, wait, hold up, sis, hold up, bruh. You got to do the same thing. You got to tap on your shoulder. You got to pick up the phone. You got to pull up. You got to pull up. Your vision and your dream that you have for yourself, it has to be so big. It has to be so big that not only is it big enough for you, it's big enough for everybody else to be able to fit their dreams and their visions inside of it too. Because it's never just about one person, but you got to be able to break through those thought processes. Now, let me say this as well. She also goes in here to say, this is so true. When we're afraid of having too much hope, we're actually afraid of being disappointed. That's why my dad would say, don't get your hopes up too high, because he had been afraid of being disappointed. I mean, he was a broke man, like he was financially broke. And I'm sure, I wish that, he had lived long enough. Let me rephrase that. I wish that I had the maturity level to ask him what his story was. I never knew what his story was. How did he get to the thinking to get to that point? Same thing with my mom. I knew some stories in their background, some things that had happened, but I mean, really get into their story. So if you're blessed to have your parents, get into it with them. Have some real conversations, find out how they got to be where they are. Because if you don't, you might find yourself being exactly where they are when you get that age and not fully understanding why. So you want to know their stories, so you can maybe even help them through their stories, and at the same time, understand who you are and why you think the way that you think, because they put some things into it subconsciously, and you need to know their stories. If you're blessed to have your grandparents, get into it with them. Find out what their stories are. Find out what their life is like, how they got to be where they are. Like, I appreciate my grandmother today so much more than I did growing up. I had a disdain for my grandmother, as crazy as that sounds. I had a serious disdain for her. She was on my mother's side. There were some things that she did, and I was trying to understand it from a kid perspective. And I could not. To me, it just seemed it went beyond mean. It seemed evil. It seemed evil because I was looking at it from a kid's perspective. As I got grown, I was like, oh, I understand some things now. So like I said, if you're blessed to have your elders in your life, please have conversations with them. Find out who they are. Find out what they're about. So let's get back into this. She also talks about, man, I love this book. Y'all really got to get this book. She says, when we're afraid of thinking things can be too good, it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, a lot of times when, just like what Demita said, when you see somebody else rising to the top, you see somebody else doing something, they've been in here less time than you, or they've been in here maybe the same amount of time as you, and you see them posting whatever, you hear that you have a conversation and they're telling you how much money they made in the market, or they're telling you where their crypto portfolio is, or you're watching them climb through the ranks and residual income, and you're like, dang. And you get afraid because you start making excuses as to why they're winning and why you haven't. Because they this, because of their context, because of the way they look, because of this, because of that. Really, what you're saying is that you don't believe. You're saying you don't believe. And all of us on here, I believe, has some type of faith, right? Where we believe in a higher power. It may be different from each other, but generally speaking, we all believe in something, a higher power. Some call it the universe. Some say Allah, some say God, some say Jesus, some say Jehovah. We all believe in something that's much bigger than ourselves, but yet and still, we're afraid to dream. How can we say that we believe in a higher power and be afraid to dream, and then what's worse yet, be afraid to go all out for it? And look at someone else as if God will do it for them and not do it for you. That doesn't make sense. It's like an oxymoron. You have faith. We say we have faith, but then we're like, oh, let me not get my hopes up too high. Oh, and another one. You know what? And you probably have thought this, or you know somebody that thought this way, because I thought this way before. Man, you know what? I ain't even gonna tell people what I want, because man, they might jinx it. You ever heard that? You ever thought that? I ain't gonna tell nobody. As if they got control. As if a man, a human being that sits on the toilet like you, got in control of what can or cannot happen to you. What? I have thought that before. I ain't gonna say nothing. I ain't gonna. But God is so great that even when we don't want to say anything to somebody, sometimes he will make these miraculous things happen for you, even if you haven't whispered it to anybody else, because you thought that somebody else could jinx it. And I think he does that sometimes to let you know that he's ultimately in control. I remember wanting to go, my deep dream, my private dream was to go to Fiji. And I never told anybody, you know, when I started dreaming this, I was still married, and I never told my husband. I never said anything to my kids. I didn't even know anything about Fiji until I used to stay up until 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, catching Tony Robbins' old infomercials. Back then they weren't old, it was new infomercials, current infomercials. And I couldn't afford I don't know if it was cassette tapes, it probably was, or CDs or something. I couldn't afford the program, right? But I would, wait, kids got to bed, I'd wait up, turn on TV, because I knew at 1 o'clock in the morning, I think it was, Tony Robbins, his infomercial was going to come on. It was pretty much, he was saying the same thing, because ultimately he was trying to sell that program. And he started talking about his private island that he had over in Fiji. And he would talk about the people, and he would talk about, just the beautiful retreat. And I wanted to go. He created this desire for me to go to this place in Fiji, but I was too afraid to say anything to anybody, because Fiji was the furthest thing from my mind. We were trying to figure out how to pay a $400 rent payment. Fiji? What? No. But then fast forward, years later, I'm in a company. I get to a position, and the company announces it's all expense paid vacation to Fiji. I was like, oh snap, I'm going to my dream place. And I never told anybody that I wanted to go there. I never said anything. I never fully believed that I could. That's just an example of where God will pull things out and make things happen for you, because he knows the desires of your heart. And I think he did that to let me know that to remind me that anything is possible, anything is capable. But you got to be the one to decide that you're going to really dream audaciously. Like, what is it that you really want for yourself? You can't keep it hidden. You can't be afraid to dream. You can't, like, listen, this book, y'all got to get this book. She says, and I'm going to take it out of context, because if you read the whole chapter, you'll understand the context of it. But she said, I want to dream like white men who have never been told there are ceilings for them, let alone caps. I almost threw the book on the other side of the wall, on the other side of the room when she said that. I'm going to read that again for the people in the back. I want to dream like white men who have never been told there are ceilings for them, let alone caps. She goes on to say, she starts talking about the story of Summit and Powder Mountain. Okay. There's a mountain that this group, this social organization, is an invite-only social organization, talking about the power of dreaming. And they own Powder Mountain. It's an organization that owns property on a mountain. I didn't even know you could buy property on a mountain. I didn't know you could buy a mountain. Just like there were years ago, I didn't know you could buy an island. I remember hearing that Michael Jordan bought an island. And I was like, you could buy an island? But you can buy this. So I don't know if y'all knew that mountains were up for sale, but I didn't know that they were up for sale. Okay, they're up for sale. All right. And so this group of men, and it started because a group of white guys who wanted to change the world for good, they would invite their friends up for the weekend. And they would get up there and they would chill. This was in Utah. And they kept going more and more frequently. Every year they would just meet up, you know, and they would just kick it, right? So somebody got the idea of saying, you know what? Why don't we buy this mountain? And why don't we invite the top of this mountain? And why don't we invite more friends? So they bought it for $40 million. They invested in it, $40 million. Now, I love the audacity to even think that, with no limitations. And the reason that she emphasized white men, okay, for those of you that are probably wondering where she's going with this, because think about it. No matter where you are in the world, no matter what your background is, your nationality or anything like this, the freedom to move about and choose about and go about for a white man is universal. I can't even wrap my brain around that, let alone the limitations that we have put upon us by our parents, our family, you know, our educational system. But to be so bold as to believe that anything that you can think about, you can actually accomplish. We got people taking 10-minute rides to outer space now, and they're all white, you know? So that's a freedom that I really feel like we should all be so bold to have, because in the bigger scheme of things, yes, they have that freedom, so to speak, but so do you, and so do I, because the limitations that we put upon ourselves really are what we put upon ourselves. We put the limitations on ourselves. The only reason why they have that audacity, so to speak, is because they believe that they have the audacity to be able to go by the top of Powder Mountain and to be able to go into outer space. I want to have that same feeling, that whatever it is I want to dream about and whatever it is I want to think about, I can be so bold to make it happen. And that's how you create a really big life for yourselves. And if you're not creating a really big life for yourself, what are we doing here? What are we really doing here? Is it going to take work, Andre, LaShonda, Sheridan? That's all I can see on here, Fatima. Absolutely. It's going to take work. Is it worth it? Absolutely. Because there's nothing worse than living with a sense of regret. There's nothing worse than that. Like literally, I made a post the other day because one of my sons called us all over for breakfast, and you know, and you know, my ex-husband was going to be over there too. And I made a post about, because I did a little clip of something. He was riding a horse, and it brought back all these memories from when his horse was trying to knock him off. And so we were laughing about it. It was just a few seconds clip. And so people were in my DM, and they were saying these great, kind things like, that's so awesome that you can, you know, be around your ex-husband like that with the family, and it's cool. And I'm like, yeah, the only reason that I can do that and be at this point, because there's no regret. And I had to work through all of that. It wasn't like, oh, okay, he walked out the door, 25 years, bye-bye, no regret, everything's fine. No, I had to work for that. Because trust me, if I didn't work for that, oh, that video would have been a whole different type of video. I'm just here to tell you, that would have been a reel, that would have gone viral. Because your girl can get ignorant, okay? Don't think I can't. Now, your girl can get ignorant. I can go back there, okay? All right, I can go back there. But I have grown thanks to books, mentorship, and prayer, okay? But the fact is that you have to, and literally, I remember reading about or seeing, you know, people going through divorce, and they would talk about, you know, how they wish nothing but the best for their former spouse. I remember, you know, reading that. That's right. You don't want me going back to Alejandra. And I would think, like, how can you really? How can that? Yeah, I guess I would want. But when you really genuinely, really hope and pray for nothing but the best for that person, it's such a freedom that you can't even explain it. It's such an actual, genuine freedom, you know, a total freedom, because Lord help me, I want somebody else to deal with that brother, okay? I'm just saying, like, I will shake her hand, high five her, you know, all of it. It's like, you go head on, girl, with your bad self, okay? I'm just saying, you gotta have fun with this stuff. But the fact is that you want to literally establish the things for yourself that will not only, like I said before, allow you to dream and allow you to push away all those doubts, all those fears. Everything that happened to you is literally happened to promote you. And sometimes some really crappy stuff can happen. Demita shared some things. You know, several of us on here have very similar backgrounds. You know my story, and it can be really crappy, and it can be hard. It can be really hard to find. How did that help me? How is that helping me get to the next level? Why did that happen to me? Right? But even in that, maybe it's just so that you could share your story, maybe because you would be so strong and you would be able to push through it so well that you could help somebody else on here that maybe wasn't so strong, that maybe needed to hear Demita's story, that maybe needed to hear Demita's voice, and maybe need to read your book, that maybe need to hear you shout it from the rooftops on social media and say, yes, this happened to me, but you know what? Here's where I am now. Maybe you have to be the one to put that oxygen mask on your face first, just like they tell you on an airplane when there's a problem and that mask drops and you have to put it on your face first. You got to be the one. You got to be the one, and you can't be scared about it. Like, what is your deepest, darkest dream? Whatever that dream is, expand it. Because we are really only here for a little while. We're only here for a little while. And like I said before, if we're not here to make an impact, this is what we all came to this community for in the first place. We came here to get something. Yes, some of you, most of you probably came on here to learn strictly the trading skill set, but you wanted that skill set for something that you want to have happen in your life. Yes, you're in here earning residual income for something. Some of you are trying to figure it all out still because maybe you're brand spanking new, but something brought you to this space. Something brought you to this community. What if this is your diving board into a brand new life? What if this is your jump start, your kickstart, but you're holding back because you're just trying to scratch your head and see if this thing works? It works, and it works real well. The question is, do you work? And the work that I'm talking about ain't got nothing to do with a Kurt Cobain session. It ain't got nothing to do with a Go Live session. It ain't got nothing to do with how many phone calls you make. It's like, are you willing to do the work on yourself on the inside in order to get to where it is you really want to go? Because once you push through all of that, the phone call is a breeze. The trading is a breeze. You can get in here and learn this skill set. This is nothing. Learning how to read them doggone charts, it'll take you 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. It don't matter. But how to be able to really get in there and master those charts, that's going to take some time. What to say to pick up a phone? You know, we've told you all day long, you got the 4-step invite, the this, a 3-way call. You got all this stuff. It don't take nothing to learn how to do that. Nothing. But the real question is, how bad do you want the life that you say you want? How bad do you really want the life that you say you want? See, I'm talking to me right now. My mouth is closer to my own ears. Y'all just happen to be on here this morning. I promise you. I'm talking to me. How bad do you really want the things that you say you want? Because if you don't change to get to the things that you want, the things that you want are going to have to change. But something is going to change. It is inevitable that a change is going to come. Just like Sam Cooke said, a change is going to come. Either you can do everything that you can to make that change work in your favor by dreaming audaciously, by being so bold as to say what it is you really want. Because I'm going to tell you this, if you tell somebody your dream and they don't go, "Ooh, damn, what?" You ain't dreaming big enough. Yes, I'm saying tell somebody your dream. Do you need to tell everybody every detail of your dream? No, not necessarily. But do you need to say it out loud? Yeah, because your mouth is closer to your own ears too. You need to say it. You need to, if it don't make you get them butterflies in your gut, if it don't make you your heart do like that, you ain't dreaming big enough. You just playing small. You just tripping. We got too much to do. There's too much to do. There's too much. Let me rephrase that. There's so much. It's not too much. There's so much to do. And we've been given an incredible opportunity. She goes on to say in here that dreaming big is in itself a privilege. So trick yourself into dreaming big. Sometimes you're not going to have everything lined up. Sometimes you're not even going to know what you're doing and how you're doing it. But if your dream is big enough, then that's big enough. At least you have something that you're dreaming about. So if you put that dream out there, as crazy as it may sound to somebody else, because don't you think when they first started talking about, some of y'all know, when they first started talking about SpaceX, and cars and rockets, special rocket ships that could take, you know, any regular person into outer space. Does that sound crazy? Can you imagine what that sounded like when Elon Musk or Sir Richard Branson or whoever started talking about that first? You know, people looked at them like they were crazy, just like they looked at the Wright brothers for being crazy, talking about they could take a craft up and fly it. Like, what? Like, if you're not talking to somebody about your dreams, and if they're not looking at you as crazy as that, you're not dreaming big enough. You're not dreaming big enough. We have an opportunity literally in the palm of our hands that can absolutely change every single thing in our entire lives on the inside. And it's going to show up on the outside. And yet, and still, we want to play with this. We want to be afraid to make a phone call because we're worried about what somebody says. They're already talking about you. Give them something to talk about. They're already talking about you. And the truth is, half the time, they ain't thinking about you nearly as much as you think they're thinking about you. They got their own problems. They broke too. They are not nearly thinking. I'm the person. Listen, when I made, listen, I when I put in there, I put in the platinum group to make a video for Randy's birthday, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna make this quick video. Oh no, I probably did 15 videos before I made that one video. One video. I'm gonna just tell you, when you see me do, if you see me do a video on social media, trust and believe, I probably made that video 15 times before. It's like, nope, let me do, nope, the background, nope, this, nope. And it might get 2 likes. I'm like, well, damn, I done did all that time. Ain't nobody thinking about me. Let me quit tripping. They got 2 likes. I done spent the last hour trying to get the scarf right, no, I'm gonna say this. No, people ain't nearly thinking about you as much as you think they are, okay? It's the fact. So if they're not thinking about you as much as you think they are, and if they're not really worried about you as much as you think they are, then you have no choice. You have no choice but to just go out there and live your life and get your life. Another thing she says, let me go ahead and wrap this up. I love it. She says, when I refuse to be honest with myself, the lies that I try to tell, even to myself, don't go well. Because, can't nobody finesse you better than you. Can't nobody finesse me better than me. I can finesse myself. Trust me, I can finesse myself real good, okay? But at the end of the day, when you lay your head down on that pillow, you got to ask yourself, like I got my calendar here, you got to ask yourself, did you do everything that you needed to do to work towards your goal? If I were to ask every single one of you on here to pull up your calendar right now, what would it look like? Some of y'all ain't even got a calendar. Oh, I keep everything in my phone. No, you don't. No, you don't. Because if you did, the actions would prove, you see what I'm saying? The actions would show up. I like when people say, oh, I'm taking notes on my phone. No, you ain't. No, you ain't. And if you do, you ain't going back to read them notes. Come on now, right? But if I were to ask you, pull up your calendar, let's see what you got going on today, right? What would that look like? Calendar? I ain't even, I'm going to hop on the Go Live session. And what time does it come on? At 7 o'clock. And then you just gonna and you gonna yourself right on up out of here. Because if you plan, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It's what was it the thing? I should have. What I'm getting ready to go. Y'all know where I'm going with this, right? Like tomorrow, you'll be looking back at today and going, man, I should have. There's people that didn't get on this call and they're like, man, I should have got on that call. I heard Demeter tore it up. Man, I should have called people yesterday. I should have. And before you done shit all over yourselves. And another day is gone past and you keep shouldn't and shouldn't and shouldn't. Before you know it, the week is gone past and then you shouldn't and shouldn't and shouldn't. The whole month is gone past and you done should the whole year off. And I'm saying should have. Okay, you done should your whole year away because now you're doing the same thing that you said you were going to do January 1, 2021. You said this was going to be my year, but because you did not plan, you set yourself up to fail because you're now being afraid to dream. You're afraid of what somebody's going to think, right? You're afraid to go for it. You got to understand why those things are happening because they're going to keep happening. You thinking right now, 2022, that's going to be my year. No, it ain't. Because if October 20th ain't your day, 2021 ain't going to be your year. Because the way you do anything is the way you do everything. I told y'all I'm talking to myself. I ain't talking to y'all. I'm talking to me. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. If you're afraid to make that phone call today, you're going to be afraid to make it tomorrow. If you're afraid to address those issues that are holding you back today, you're going to be afraid to address them tomorrow. If you're afraid to go to Houston and show up for yourself, you're going to be afraid at the next event. If you've actually talked yourself into saying, oh, I'll go to the next one. No, you ain't. No, you ain't. You're going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over, and you're going to be expecting different results, and you're going to be out of this company, and you're going to go to another company, and you're going to do the same thing. You know what I love when people quit this business? It trips me out every single time. Every single time. Those of you that had people that left your business, I promise you, if you go look them up, guess what they're doing? The same thing they were doing beforehand. They went back to the same job. They're still working the same job. They're still, maybe they went to a different trading company. Maybe they're out there on YouTube, but I promise you, they have not done anything better. They have not done anything better because they refuse to do the inside work. Like Demita said, the heart work. They refuse to do that. Y'all, we got to do the heart work. We got to do the heart work. We got to do the hard work. And it starts with us dreaming. So be so bold, be so, like she said, dream like a white man with no limits, right? Like, I love that. Like, I really, like, I swear I want to like hashtag that and put it on social media, but then I got to do a whole talk about it because people will be like, oh my God, what's she mean? But it's so true. Like, be so bold, be so audacious to just go, you know what? This is going to be my year. 2021 ain't over yet. This is my year now. Because you know what's real tripped out? The real thing, why people put off for tomorrow. Well, I won't do it today. I'm gonna do it tomorrow. I'm gonna do it, next week. Well, you know what? I just need to get through this year. The holidays are coming up. Halloween is coming up. I got to get that candy. So I can't make no phone call. Like, whatever things we tell ourselves. But we what? We're afraid to dream big enough, but yet we think we're going to live forever. We think we're going to be here tomorrow. We think we got tomorrow. That doesn't even make sense. We're afraid to dream and put in the action steps today, but we're not afraid to believe that we're going to be here tomorrow. You see the irony in that? We should be afraid that we're not going to be here tomorrow. So let's dream and go to work today. We need to flip that because tomorrow is not promised. This afternoon ain't promised because there's going to be people that's going to die this afternoon. It might be us. Right? And I don't mean to make it morbid or anything like that, but it's just really the reality. We only have this moment right now. This moment is now the present, but in just a few seconds, it just became the past. It just became the past. So in order for us to get to there, wherever that there is, you got to start here, because the only difference between the word, you take the word there and here, it's just the letter T, and the T stands for time. So you got to give yourself time, but at the same time, you got to operate as if there is no time. You got to act like there is no time. You got to act like right now is the moment that you have to make the biggest difference that you can. See, when I look at my 4-year-old grandson who's downstairs, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And trust me, there are moments when I'm like, how did I homeschool 5? When this one is like, whoo. Because I was in my 20s. I had to remind myself I was in my 20s, okay? I was in my 20s. I was not 58 years old, okay? And really, I think he's homeschooling me. I think I'm just here to just serve him completely, all right? Completely. But there's a bigger picture there. There's a bigger dream there than the frustration sometimes, than the this, than the that. So you have to really decide. Demita talked about this as well. You have to really decide the real things that you want for your life, like straight up. You have to really, really decide what is it that you really want for your life, and then put the actions behind it. You hear this all the time. I'm not saying anything that you haven't heard before. But when are you going to actually do it? Instead of just thinking about it, hearing it, getting on another mentorship call, and just like she said, some of you go to the event or went to the event last time, and you're like, well, nothing happened, nothing. Man, they said that if you go to this event, you put your business 6 months in advance. Well, nothing happened. What did you do? What did you do? Did you just go to the event and then halfway you out in the hallway chit-chatting with people that's just as broke as you? Did you just go for the party? Hey, I know the blues on here. Yeah, is that it? Did you just go to snap some pictures with somebody. What did you do? You got to show up for your life. You got to be present for your life. Because your life means everything and your excuses mean nothing. Excuses mean nothing. So one of the things that she says on here, she says, when we dream, we give others permission to dream. When we dream, we give others permission to dream. And when they see those dreams coming into fruition, you are the catalyst. You are giving them the permission. It's okay. Yes, it can happen. Yes, this is what it's going to take. Yes, this is what it's going to look like. You got to start saying yes to you instead of saying no. You've been told no all your life. But now you got to start saying yes, and you got to start putting the action behind it. I'm going to keep saying that. Because it ain't enough to just be motivated behind this call. It ain't enough to just be excited about hearing what Demeter was telling and teaching. It ain't enough to just be excited about what I'm saying. It's like, put in the work. See your calendar. What does it look like? What does it look like? We're not just talking to talk. We got stuff to do. So here's the thing, guys. And I say this a lot. I started saying it a lot, I should say. You have to have the audacity to dream, and you have to have the audacity to dream big. And I said this before on this call before, one of the things that motivates me probably more than absolutely anything else, more than what anybody else can say or anything that I can read into a book, is just that, reoccurring thoughts, nightmares, dreams. Sometimes it comes in the form of a nightmare. Sometimes it comes in the form of a dream. But I just have this thought that, when I die and, on the day of judgment, resurrection, or however, standing at the pearly gates, or however you want to put it out there, that there's this person that God is going to introduce me to. And this woman is going to be everything that he created me to be in this life. Everything, every single detail from A to Z of what his vision was for me and what he created for me to be in this life. And he could introduce me to her. And the dream is that I know her and she knows me. I am her and she is me. And we're twins. It's like, what's up, girl? We did it. Oh my God, high five. But then the nightmare is like, I don't know her and she doesn't know me because I didn't fulfill the mission and the vision that God had for me. I don't know if we'll ever get to a point in this life that we'll feel like the mission has been accomplished. I really don't ever want to get to that point in this life where I feel like the mission has been accomplished, because I really believe that what God has in store for me in this life, I can't even visualize it right now. And I always want to work to be the absolute best that I can be, so that when that time comes, okay, and when I'm introduced to her and she's introduced to me, it's like, wow, we really did do this thing. So I challenge you to ask yourself today, if you could dream a dream so big and you knew 100% that it was going to come true, what would you do differently today? What would you do differently today? If you knew that whatever it is you asked for, it was going to come true. How would you move today? How would you talk today? How would you walk today? How would you dress today? How would you think today? What would your actions be like today? Today, don't think about tomorrow. It may not come. How would you move today? And then move like that today. Move like the queen that you are. Move like the king that you are, because you truly are the queen of your domain and the king of your domain. You truly are. God has already given you permission because you won your first race. You already won. You made it through all them sperms. You made it. You won your first race. So that's God just letting us know that we are created to win. We're designed to win because we won our first race. So guys, I'm gonna go ahead and close this out. I appreciate you guys today so much. We're so thankful for this community that we have. We're so thankful for everything that Randy and Wanda have put together with this amazing team. And it's so funny because a lot of times I think people, when they come into this space, especially obviously on our team in Legacy Worldwide, they think that the mentorship is part of I Am Mastery Academy. And there's mentorship in the academy, of course, through the educators and the people that you get to know. But the fact that Randy and Wanda have gone the extra mile, and let's include Dr. Jewel too, because on Tuesdays and Thursdays, she has her mentorship call. She has it Monday through Friday. It's just we're here Mondays, Wednesdays, and Friday. But they don't have to do this. They really don't. And so we're all so grateful. And I know y'all will join me in saying this because this is recorded and they're definitely going to see this, but we're so grateful to them for taking the time out to even create a space to where Demita and I could get on here and share some wisdom with you guys and share some information with you guys, because truly, if they hadn't created a safe space to be able to do this, we wouldn't be able to do it. We wouldn't be able to be here. So again, I'm so happy and grateful to be a part of this community, to be a part of this academy, and just really, really dream big, do the work, man, go in there and get that, the Bob Proctor mentorship series that's going to happen tomorrow at 3:00. Like, I'm gonna tell you, I've had that series and I put it off, right? I was just like, oh yeah, man, Demita kept edifying it. I was like, let me get in here and pull this up. Man, I was ready to throw the laptop across the room. I'm like, oh my God, because it's the stuff in here that's going to break through so we can have the stuff in here. And then we dream the bigs, dream the dream so big and put the actions behind it. It's a win-win situation, guys. So let's all come together. Let's make sure that you got your tickets to Houston. Do not leave anybody behind. If you need to pick up that phone and have those conversations with your teammates, do it, because trust me, the worst thing that we can do is not call our teammates and let them know that they must be there. We cannot take excuses, because again, if you truly believe that your excuses mean nothing and your life means everything, you have to want for them what you want for yourselves. If you see somebody who's inactive, call them. Pick up that phone and call them and say, look, sis, look, bro, I know you're going through some things, but if you truly want for your life, your personal life, you can't really say that you really believe that you can have it if you're sitting there watching your brother, watching your sister not getting a piece of this too, because they're missing out. So again, you cannot really truly have or believe that you can have all the things that you want if you're not willing to go pick up and pull the coattails of somebody else too, okay? Because we truly are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. So with that being said, y'all, let's have an amazing day today. Let's go out and continue to crush it. I wish you well in everything that you do. Let's dream big. Let's make it happen. Let's go. Thank you, Randy and Wanda, for allowing us to share this space. Y'all have a fantastic day. Peace.
Thank you. Really quick, before Sakinah logs off, you said something that was so powerful. I just want to share with something on the screen really quick. You guys look at this. She talked about where you want to go, where you want to be. I have this written on a piece of paper. As a Chairwoman 100, that is my focus. So what I think about, this is a piece of paper I just took a picture of so I can share with you guys. You can screenshot it if you want. It says, how does a Chairman 100 operate every single day? So that means I have to operate from that space. I can't operate from the space of a P2000. If I make P2000 decisions, I'll never be a Chairwoman 100. So I think Chairwoman 100 thoughts. How does a Chairwoman 100 operate every single day? What is a Chairwoman 100's leadership like every day? What is their confidence like? How do they speak? How do they talk? How do they walk? How do they dress? What are their disciplines like? What is their focus like? What do they focus on? And on the back side of that paper, it says, what is their attitude like? And what is their self-image? That is why you see me operate in Chairwoman language, because that's where my head is at. And I wanted to share that with y'all before we hopped off. So that was it. Thank you so much.
You wait, put that back up there. Y'all need to be taking a picture of that. You literally need to take a picture of that, because you have to write the vision, make it plain. You got to see it every day. You got to say it every day, because you can get off this call. You can be excited. We really appreciate all the great comments in the chat room. We really, really, really genuinely appreciate it. But the best way that we can show appreciation to Randy and Wanda and Dr. Jewel and everything that they do for us, and Chris Terry, is this right here. This right here. Right here. This company is going to over 1 million customers. Trust me, you don't want this company to go to 1 million customers and you ain't got a good piece of it. Trust me. And the only way that this can happen is if we have these thoughts in our head and in our minds every single day, y'all. That's powerful. Thank you, Demita.
Yes, ma'am. Record and stop.